So I'm I'm actually going to start by just talking about leadership and celebrating leadership as an everyday act. And so one of the things that I was talking to Chaitra about, because we often talk about leadership and what it takes for you to be a leader. And I'm curious for you, how many of you have been moved by a leader in your life at some point, that they changed you, they said something to you that really altered the course of what you were doing? I see a lot of hand claps out there. So part of what we know is that leaders, they impact us and they change us with what they say. So what did they say? That's what I wondered about. For you, what did they say to you that helped you to change? So you, Catherine, she's had many over the years. Alyssa, definitely, absolutely. But what did someone tell you or say to you? And I want you to just take a moment to reflect on what they did say to you. How did they encourage you? How did they change you? How did they make you step into a bigger room or validate? And in my podcast, I've been interviewing leaders, some of the Microsoft leaders, around how they were able to do it. You're going places. I love it. Small steps every day. Thank you. And these things, what they say matters. So when Chai and I were talking, we talked about what we thought were three qualities that embody a leader that we tried to embody. And the first was courage. And I think about myself as a gay woman out in the world. You know, I'm old, so I came out when they were still throwing bricks at people, and they still do that. You know, when you're walking down the street in some parts of the world. I live in Texas, so let's just say sometimes that happens here. But you have to be courageous to talk about your wife or your life in a way that shares an authentic story. And the second quality we felt was generosity, that you actually go out of your way to show to help people's voices be heard, and you help people to connect to community and create a community for others, and that you serve really at the highest level that you can possibly think of, right? And the third quality is around accountability to yourself and accountability to others, that you are good to your word and that you follow through with everything. Now, the WIC community totally embodies this. And the moment you step into that, you step into your best leader self. So I was thinking about these three qualities of courage, generosity, and accountability. And I remembered that when I first came into working in business, I was a young green consultant. Actually, I was a drama therapist who got pulled into business because I was not a great therapist in a one-on-one session. And so I was invited to be and do change management around the world. And one of my first engagements was with a financial firm where they had laid off 2/3 of their staff because of the stock market crash, and 1/3 was left. And they'd actually been separated into two rooms for that experience. And so my job was to work with HR to come up with a curriculum, change management curriculum, and a workshop so that people could be heard, and then they'd get back to work. So I knew that I was in trouble when I walked in the first day and the VP of HR burst into tears in my arms. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to go interesting. And so together we worked on creating a curriculum, which we thought would really help. And we had to run 6 weeks of workshops to get through 800 employees. And so there was myself, an HR person, and a leader. And the workshops began, and despite our careful planning, you know, every session started with angry, volatile, discouraged employees who had one goal in mind, which was to make me, the HR person, and that leader into human punching bags in that room. Honestly, it was crazy. And so I realized right away, this was, as a drama therapist and being trained as that, this was high drama. So I would change the session into more of a listening session. It was the first time I'd ever started drawing in a room, and I asked them to draw and write how they felt. And it took the heat off right away. And then I found a leader, this one woman leader out of the 5 leaders was willing to come up and sit on right next to me at the front of the room and accept responsibility for what had happened. She said, every day I hired too fast and too many, And then we had to lay people off. And trust me, they weren't happy to hear it, but on some level, they felt like, yes, somebody is accepting responsibility for it. And even though there were 4 others, she was the one who stepped forward. And to me, this was an everyday act of courage, of integrity, right? Accountability. And so I loved that she did that. And every day I protected her to the best of my ability. And then after the 6 weeks of 800 people were over, you know, it was the last day. And frankly, I was exhausted. And I thought, oh, finally, I get to go home. And I walk in, and on my presentation table, there was a beautiful note from that first HR VP who said, thank me for helping everyone heal. And she left me this little pink heart. And I tell you, this pink heart reminded me, and does today, of how it's really about love and holding the space for others to change and grow and listen to their story and what's hard for them. It changes you, and it changed me. And those leaders in that company have really impacted how I lead today. Now, the root of the word leadership means to see one's own way. So today, as you go into hearing some of these most amazing leaders, and you think about your leadership, just note in your journal, like, where are you courageous? And how can you be more courageous to stand up for what you know is right every chance you get? And then how can you be more generous in what you do by giving a warm introduction, or asking and raising your hand for a warm introduction? And third, how can you be more accountable? How can you stand in your truth, your authentic self? Because in Women in Cloud, we want to embolden the leader in you, but we embolden the part of you that's authentic, your authentic self. Because when your voice gets out there, your voice matters, and it changes everything. So thank you for letting me just share a few tips on leadership from my perspective.